So thank you for asking me about my mother, Izola Fedford Collins. She was born here on the island as the fourth generation Galvestonian. She skipped several grades, and so she graduated at age 14 as the salutatorian of her class of 1944 of Central High School, which was the first African-American high school in the state of Texas. After graduating from high school, she went on to Prairie View A&M University, where she got her bachelor's degree in music. While she was there, she was in the all-girls jazz band, the Prairie View Co-eds, which toured the East Coast and even played at the Apollo Theater in New York. She did all that when she was 15 years old. And anyway, so she got her degree and began her first job as a high school band director when she was 18. Some of the seniors that she taught were a little bit older than she was. And she was only the second ever female African-American band director in the state of Texas. So it was pretty unusual for band directors to be women in those days. Over the next few years, in the summer, she attended graduate school at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, where she got her master's degree in music in 1953. She taught for about 30 years, had award-winning bands and choirs during those years, and then retired at age 54 in 1984. Unfortunately, a month later, my father died after a lengthy illness, and that coincided with my younger sister graduating high school and going. So she spent like the next year kind of navigating being a widow and also the empty nest. But then she dove right into community service. She was elected citywide to the Galveston ISD School Board, where she served for 9 years. And one of those years as president. She served on many other boards during that time. One of the organizations that my mother was very proud to be a member of was Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And she also became an author in her retirement years. She is the author of Island of Color, Where Juneteenth Started. It chronicles the lives of African Americans here in Galveston going back to 1865, when her great-grandparents had first arrived here. She was able to use the very detailed notes that her grandfather had made in his journal about life through those years in the 1800s, into the years where she had her own knowledge, and then she interviewed many people and did research, so that it chronicles the lives of African Americans from 1865 till about 2000, about the year 2000. Near the end of her life, she fulfilled a lifelong dream of composing an original piece of music for an orchestra. Galveston Survives. And so only 9 months before she passed, that piece of music was premiered by the Galveston Symphony Orchestra, and she got to conduct the orchestra in performing it. She is the only Galvestonian of any color or ethnicity to ever have had her own music performed by the Galveston Symphony Orchestra. And so that happened in September of 2016, and she passed in June of 2017 at the age of 87. When they're reading Island of Color, I want them to just get a first-hand account, because of the fact that she had her grandfather's journal. Those are first-hand accounts from him, Reverend Ralph Albert Scull, and from herself and the many people that she interviewed of what life was like. At the time my mother published this book, it was the first that we had to know what was like for African Americans in Galveston. There are other books that have talked about other life in Galveston, but there had not been anything sharing what the very rich history is. And the thing is that there's so many firsts about Galveston in general, and also in the African American community. So she, for example, includes in the book the many churches in Galveston, black churches that were the first in the state of Texas, such as Avenue L Baptist Church, Reedy Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church, which was her church, St. Augustine's Episcopal Church, Holy Rosary Catholic Church. All of those were the first of their denomination in the African American community in the entire state, and they're all here in Galveston. So I'm just thankful to be able to share today this legacy that my mother's left, not only to us, her children and grandchildren, but to the city of Galveston and the region beyond. Thank you.